All right, family, here we go. 1 2 1 2. Can you hear me? I don't have anybody to hear you. Just trying to rhyme and make sense of what's happening in this moment. All right, so I am doing this recording to do somewhat of a recap of our Sacred Wednesday Circle, coming into the watering spring of the ancient teachings of now, because I had to jump on my phone, realizing there's some technical things around recording where it wasn't recording to my phone because I'm recording to my computer here for you all, rather than recording to the cloud. If I was recording to the cloud, then I can record on the phone, the things. And that's just it. See, that was it. The teaching and the topic today was around freeing your mind. And your life will follow. Freeing your mind and your life will follow. Now let me say something about where that was coming from when that topic emerged. Vulnerable moment. Your brother has gone through some childhood traumas. And so I've been, my path of, I'm hesitating to call it spiritual awakening, because I never was seeking that. I never was looking for enlightenment. I was just looking for peace in this body. And it caused me to be invited into situations that could be called spiritual, right? But the main question I had, and we're going to be talking about questions. Yeah, the main question I had is, how can I quiet down the noise in this body? I'm just coming to the realization of that. That wasn't in the first download of this teaching around questions and how it can create space in the mind so that we can receive what is rightly ours in terms of balance and clarity and harmony, and having a connection to receiving that abundance. There are aspects of these questions that are connected, right? It's connected. There's nothing in this universe that's just out there, oh, I got these questions about how am I going to do this or how am I going to do that. But that question is connected to something. And so let's drop in for a moment to this awareness that we often practice having, because we're emerging into an awareness as we utilize these ancient teachings about the beginning, for example, the ancient teachings from the yogic texts that I read in the Ayurvedic book, The Art of Balance, speaking about consciousness and prana, life force, right? In this perfect union, this perfect stillness. And then there was a movement. And this movement they described as, I am one, I want to become many. But we can, as we read it, we can have a sense, metaphorically, that there is an energy emerging out of the stillness of prana and consciousness. And we get it from the Middle Eastern mystics. In the beginning was the word. vibration. The word was with the source of life, the source of creation, was with, emerging, and still with what it emerged out of, right? So it's still connected, like my arm's connected to my body, and here's the movement of the wave, but it's still connected with the creator, with the generator, organizer, deliverer of life, God. And it was God. So it's still connected to that oneness. I like to add, and it is God, right? Recognizing that energy is not just a being in this chair looking down on us with a long white beard, figuring out whether we should go to heaven or hell based on our actions. No. Looking at this oneness as a vibratory field that we are one with. And I want to show you just in terms of the cycles of life. Yeah. Talking about these cycles of life that represents this emergence out of the origin of creation and how it's represented in the breath. Because close your eyes for a moment as you inhale. Hold the breath in for a moment and just sense the ending of the inhale. And go ahead and exhale, the beginning of the exhale. Hold the breath out for a moment. Sense the ending of the exhale. And now go ahead, feel the beginning of the inhale. And as you flow through the breath like that, feel the stillness between the ending and the beginning. And there we have that place of stillness where the movement of prana, this Shakti, this energy, connects to this energy of consciousness, unidentified consciousness. There's this connection of the two. Feel the connection in you as you watch the movement of your body, allowing the respiratory process. See if you can hear the sound of the breath moving in and out. And as you sense with your sensory technology, right? See the movement, hear the flow, feel the movement. And when you have these perspectives, then you begin to drop in to being in that unidentified consciousness, connecting with the source of the energy and technology that allows you to be in this moment now. And as we come to this watering spring of ancient teachings of now, Patanjali, a sage from the past, wrote down some teachings called the Yoga Sutras. And in those teachings, when he speaks about the beginning, he speaks about the sense of yoga now. Yoga now. And when you consider these representations of oneness, this representation of the beginning, we also consider that when we dive into a question, that question is also one with an answer. So I want to share with you I recently, instead of just being about the past, because the idea of freeing the mind is we're freeing the mind from the past. So I have my stories. You have any that might cause a disturbance or focus in the moment, may take you off center, may cause stories to germinate in your thought process that begins to say something about yourself that's not true in this moment. Because in this moment, we could look around and see how we're being taken care of, how the thing that came in from the past is not actually happening now. the thing that's part of our story from the past is not happening now. What we want to dive into today is freeing the mind from those recordings of the past and step into ways that can be effective operating protocols that can allow us to tap in to the infinite creative potential of this body, of the central nervous system, of the brain, right? Infinite creative capacities. So this is one thing I want to share with you from a gentleman I've been studying, Jim Kwik, considered a brain coach on how to increase memory, reading comprehension, overall performance of the brain and the mind. And he really brings out how these thoughts we have been entrained, so they are somewhat so subtle that they have unconscious patterns that are going, and how we identify with ourselves that interferes with the optimal operating systems of the brain and how it is accessed by the mind and consciousness. So we want to free ourselves of those. Now, I had many elders talk to me about the qualities of the questions that I've asked over my lifetime. And in fact, conversations with elders always wind up in these places of receiving questions that I would remember and walk away with like, wow. Here's one question that just surfaces as an echo is, how are you spending your time? That was a question that would come often. How are you spending your time? Because time once spent can never be regained. Like you spend money, you can always make more. So an elder said to me, and he was at an addiction care center where I was working. He said to me, the quality of your questions determine the quality of your life. It's like, wow. And so for us, as we've been going through this flow of oneness, the question is not by itself. So we want to open up ourselves to be in this oneness, this relationship between the question and the answers. Yeah, the question and the answers. So let's slip that question into the work of Jim Kwik, who has had several brain injuries and concussions and had to relearn the way to use his faculties in terms of reading and writing and expressing himself due to brain injuries that he sustained over his lifetime. So he said that when you ask the appropriate questions, that it can open the mind to utilize the infinite capacity of the brain, or brains, however way you want to look at it, the cranial brain, the heart brain, gut brain, as we know it now, but to utilize the infinite technological capacity within the nervous system, that the thoughts can be limiting. So what we do is, as we flow with life, we think of or consider the questions that are important for us to find answers to. So he gives these three questions, and we're going to cover this in a three-part series, right? So we're going to focus on one question today. Now he poses the question, how can I use this? And for our sacred work here, Our focus is to be spiritually empowered by interpreting these ancient teachings of now for our life today so that we can live moment to moment empowered by the experiences. Here today was about open your mind, and this is the second time I'm doing this to make sure you get the teaching from today. But I had to meet our circle gathering on my phone. And as I was saying earlier, realizing I couldn't see where it was being recorded, but I had to stay in the moment. So my mind had to be open to flow into each of those thought patterns, one concern about logistics and the other stepping into responsibility and the reason for being here and being connected to everyone and what needs to take place was another thing going on. Sending a mental telepathic vibration to my assistant to see if she could determine if it was being recorded. And here we are in this moment. The idea being, with all the different pressures and energies happening in the world, that pressure and stress can be used as energy to strengthen and empower. So how can we use this life? How can we use this opportunity to live so we are in harmony with our soul? How can we use this opportunity to live so we are in harmony with our soul? How can we use this opportunity to live so we are in harmony with our higher self? Yoga. How can we use yoga now? How can we use this opportunity to live? Write that down. How can we use this opportunity to live so we are in harmony with our soul? Got it? So go through this visual with me for a moment, because this sets up what Jim Quick was talking about, how the mind works. You ever, you get into your young adult years and you flow through life and you see the things going on, colleagues are buying cars and you see the cars on the road, and maybe you might start to think about, in your 20s or your 30s, what kind of car you really want to, you want to drive around in. You might hear that question, what kind of car do I really want to drive in? So up until that point, you weren't paying attention to the cars, and maybe instead you get a car given to you. Let's say it's a say it's a Volkswagen van, right? So you start driving that van around, then you start seeing all these different Volkswagen vans, set up like campers, or, vintage ones, some that, surfboards, or some that are used as bakery delivery trucks. You just start seeing all these Volkswagen vans, and that's what Jim Quick is talking about when we're asking questions. It opens up the consciousness to be aware of certain energies that awaken you to an experience. In this case, we were given the Volkswagen van. We weren't aware of Volkswagen vans out there on the road, and all of a sudden now we're aware of them. So you're saying it's the same thing when we say, how can I use this life so I am in harmony with my soul? When now we initiate the questions like this, it causes that same phenomenon to take place, where the awareness of this conscious aspect of who we are, now we're calling it the mind, it begins to, just like the Volkswagen vans, you start seeing the answers to the ways to do it. emerging as inspiration and intuition. And then this is where you get a chance now to be on the adventure of being in a relationship with yourself. But what's happening is you're building this momentum, right, that is freeing you beyond the confines of how the mind has identified you with the story, where you just see the mask of the story. All Jackson men are angry, you know. So sometimes I look at myself and I see this thing and I say, "Ooh, I have to soften," you know, because that feels like that little legacy story that I used to hear my family tell about my father's side of who I am and that lineage. You know, there's that. So how can I use this life to experience being in harmony with my soul? And that's similar to my question of that was on my mind as a major question growing up, is how can I calm down the noise inside from the childhood trauma and the noise that came from the different activities that were unpleasant in the home, right? So that caused me to get invited to Jamaica on a business trip and learn about the connection to nature. I got invited to a West African dance drum circle, right? Drum class, really. That opened me up to the power of music and rhythm. I got invited to an indigenous ceremony called the Sweat Lodge ceremony. That opened me up to my heritage, you know, particularly on my father's side, around my grandmother Chinna, or her name got changed to China, but her ancestors are Seminole. So, you know, it got me like just not even really realizing the focus on that question, how it opened up. So the idea here to bring it home is you're taking that question, how can I use this life you've been given, I've been given, so I experience being in harmony with my soul. Now we're recognizing that your soul is the higher aspect of yourself. And remember, question and answer, they're not separate. You and your soul, it's not separate, but we're giving the mind its opportunity to identify in a healthy way. Yeah, in a way that promotes our understanding of who we truly are. And that's the idea, free the mind. When we say free, we're freeing it of the past. It has its place. Maybe you might say, how can I use the past so I'm in harmony with my soul? Shape the question in ways that it has meaning for you. But shape the question this week and really move into a meditation with it. We're going to do a process. I'm going to videotape that separately so it can live as a way to share a pranayama exercise and a way to open and clear this vessel to be in that place of stillness, right? But the idea we're coming home to is that you have the creative capacity to open yourself to the wisdom of the question, right? And that's what I just got in this moment. My elders are saying the quality of the question is the quality of the wisdom that the question opens up for you, that then gives this quality of wisdom to your life when you ask the question, right? How am I spending my time? There's a wisdom in there that says, oh, time is valuable. Oh, I need to pay attention to the way I am utilizing what is given to me because it is precious. It is. The time I'm given in this body, it has a limit. So the wisdom that emerges out of that question then leans into how am I going to use it? What am I going to do? It leans into these next questions. But remember, the question is not separate from the answer. Yes? So that was the major teaching for our circle, our Wednesday circle today. And when we invoke these questions into our meditation, just like the VW camper bus, there's an awakening of what's going on around us that we are one with. You already one with all those buses and where they are in space and time. Now that you start to have it, the question then, the awareness of the answers, can the inducement of the answer, revealing itself, can be accentuated. And you can check his work out, Jim Kwik, Jimkwik, I think how he spells it. Right? Let's check that. He also gave a beautiful example. Now, this is it. This is about why we want to free the mind. Last one. That when we are locked in to these thoughts, some of which we didn't initiate, like the thoughts around capitalism, the thoughts around religion, the thoughts around race, right? The thoughts in science. When we were born, it's not as if we came in here, saying like, look, I got a new Pythagorean theorem, or hey, look here, I have a new way to create society where we're going to operate based on love and be governed by love. We can change the politics. We're just governed by love. All the laws governed by love. Yeah, it didn't happen that way. When we rolled in as an open consciousness, unidentified. We didn't even know our name in terms of the mind saying, my name is Akka. You say your name, right? That kind of, that's a training. So it's the same way with an elephant. When a baby elephant, in terms of one of those elephants that need to be trained and domesticated to do particular jobs, when that elephant is of age to begin the training, they begin by putting a strong stake in the ground and a strong chain, and they wrap it around the elephant's neck. And as a baby, it'll try to get away and it'll try to get away, and it can't because it's too strong at that age. But then as the elephant grows stronger, grows bigger, it's amazing to me. That's why I'm hesitating. The way the mind can create these limitations, that even though the elephant is bigger and stronger, they can take a rope and just put a weak stake, maybe a piece of wood, and wrap that rope around that wood. And if that elephant feels the slightest tug against that wooden stake, it's not going to go any further. So the elephant has the strength to break free, and yet the entrainment, the training of the mind is causing the elephant to stay in that parameter of the rope and not go any further. So where do we do that in our life? And what we're saying is we're using these questions and go into this practice. If you're studying, he's saying, create questions that you want to learn from what you're reading, even if it's a pleasurable read. What do you want to get out of the next chapter? That helps your comprehension. It helps to expand the mind. It helps to begin to open up the brain regenerating itself. It begins to open up that process. You start to open up your memory. All of these things. Very last thing, since this is just coming to the end of the teaching part for today. Think about this. Prior to May 6th, 1954, to run less than a 4-minute mile was thought to be impossible. In fact, in order for the body to reach that kind of physical output, could be so exhausting on the system. Just exhaust energy, the energy output so great that the body could literally collapse. Right? It would just reach its capacity and it couldn't go any further. So a person could die trying to achieve that. Think about it. And then on May 6th, 1954, Roger Bannister ran a mile in 3 minutes, 59.4 seconds. And here's the thing about that. First, consider in your life, where are your thoughts creating these boundaries, these parameters that you may be locked in. And I think that's what anxiety is about. I could describe that noise that I was telling you about earlier, could be described as anxiety. And I think it's that movement into the areas, of life that your soul has come here to move into. And then here's a fear. Oh no, I don't like those heights. But I know I should hike up that mountain and get to that spring and get into the source of that spring. But no, I'm not. I don't like to go that high up. Where's that thought coming from? And dig this. Once Roger Bannister did it, 2 months later, less than 2 months later, someone broke that record. And on it went. On and on it went. So what is our limit? Is there one? You listen to a gentleman, David Goggins, listen to his interviews. You see them on YouTube. He's truly a gentleman, when I listen to him, that he caused me to face the limiting thoughts that I had placed on myself. Right? So the idea today in this teaching is that we are recognizing we're recognizing our oneness. And in the teachings, in the mantra, in the stories of the beginning, that we're still connected to that. And it's in the breath. It's in the breath to remind us that there's a oneness, that stillness between exhale and inhale, where one begins and one ends. Right? And in that ending, there's a beginning. So in that stillness, there's a rebirthing. So there's this oneness that we represent even now. Patanjali in the first sutra said, yoga now. These threads of truth that were there to guide us in the way to use the mind that has access to infinite creative capacity, but yet man can't run a mile faster than 4 minutes. And David Goggins was saying the same thing. He thinks the limits are the limits only placed by the mind. Otherwise, he's not sure if there is a limit to the capacity this human body has to interact with the infinite creative potential of consciousness and prana. So go on that journey for yourself. Go into the spaces where you limit yourself and you need to change. Ask the question, how can I use this life to be in harmony with my soul? All right? Follow the breath. You can go on YouTube and you can see the breathing exercise for this particular gathering in our sacred circle. I'll make reference to it in the title as well as in the video. So those of you that get this teaching can follow up with the process. And we'll be doing the breathing process. And then at home, you can drop into the meditation with the question, how can I use this life to be in harmony with my soul. And you just sit still with it and let it come rather than reaching for it. You know, just allow it to come like bubbles coming up from the water. All right. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate all of you who have come to the circle and dipped your toe in the spring waters, and even those that weren't able to stay. I thank you all. We had such a powerful gathering today. This is a gathering on Wednesday, July 30th, powerful day. So many medicine people were showing up. Beautiful people that are devoting their life to ceremony and honoring the ancestors in terms of the historical events in the United States where the ancestors were not treated humanely. So they were going on a run. One of our circle members was on a run to honor those ancestors. I mean, not just any run, a 500-mile run. So I'm mentioning that to say that there are some incredible human emergings into infinite capacities going on, that we're emerging into being more than human. In other words, the vibration of this Aquarian age is awakening our awareness like the VW buses, right? Awakening our awareness, and we start seeing it in others. And I'm blessed to be able to see it in you, this magnificence that is infinite, that radiates with love, that can move beyond the restrictions that are looking to control life and into the nourishment of it, so it can flower, it can prosper, the children can grow, the elders can be honored, the parents and the adults can hold the container of life with respect, with love, with creativity flowing, with joy unfolding, and health being the order of our day and our life. So thank you for being here. We'll close out as we did earlier with 4 abwoons. We did 3, but let's do 4 this time for the 4 directions, and honoring those energies going out from us, awakening the caterpillar in the body of the caterpillar, awakening the butterfly in the body of the caterpillar, awakening that butterfly so that we can fly and we can pollinate and experience the fruits of life that are sweet, nourishing, hydrating, and bringing a joy that is so much abundance to share. The mango trees, when they're fruiting, my goodness, you feel like you can feed the whole city. Because how many mangoes can you really eat at one time, you know? Okay, so let us tune out and we'll pray out. And then I'll record the breathing exercise so you can have that. Bringing the palms together, press the thumbs into the sternum, really feel yourself as a vibratory field. Inhale deeply. Exhale. Inhale to begin. Oh, I have to tell you what we're going to tune out with, don't I? My. Ab, A-B, W-O-O-N. And really give time to each sound of vowel and consonant. Ab, woo. All on one breath. This is the name of the Creator in Aramaic, the great parent of creation. And it is an ancient meditation used to connect with your vibration in creation, your space. The mind has an identity of your address as your name, looking at your body in the mirror, the house you live in, the people you talk to, the friends you have, the family you have. But your true identity is vibrational. Thus, when you hear your voice, it is unique. So the true essence of your being is vibrational. So here's where we tune into ourselves as vibration as we chant the name of the source of life, right? The source of creation. Woo. Nice and long like that on one breath. So let's bring our breaths together. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale to begin. Really moving the breath from your navel point. Let's just do one more. Inhale deeply. Hold that breath a moment, and feel the vibration continuing. Allowing yourself to be in that place of oneness with your creator. When we add the mantra to the flow of the breath as you exhale. Thank you, source of our being, giver of our breath, for bringing us to the sacred watering spring of the ancient teachings that we can apply in our life now. Thank you for awakening us to the questions that we can ask that attracts to us the answers, that solves the problems, heals the past, and reveals the solutions for the challenges we face in this time. May we awaken to the awareness of infinite abundance flowing through the respiration, flowing through the movement of prana and consciousness in and out of us, providing us with everything we need to do the things we want and everything we want to do the things we need. So we spread love around this planet and all beings can be taken care of. We ask this for all our family and all our relations. So it is, Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. All our relations are home, Natakwase, Satanam, Namaste, Hallelujah. So until we see each other next time at our watering spring of ancient teachings of now, take care of yourself and keep spreading that love. Until the next time, one love.